Is it the camera, the lighting, the budget, the crew? I mean, all of these aspects are important for creating a good-looking movie. But I think there is something missing. Let's talk about composition. Whenever I'm at a new location, and it doesn't really matter where it is, I just stop and pause. I pause for a brief second to take in everything that surrounds me. The sound, the little details, the people,
I'm gonna be on this side and I'm gonna go that way.
I like to do this to remind myself to pay attention to my surrounding and to compose with an idea in mind that reflects it. I often start by looking around until something interesting catches my eye, like the message on the wall, heat wave. And just by changing my position and angle, I get a totally different outcome. There are a lot of different elements you could use to create a good composition, but I want to show you one that is not only simple to find, but in my opinion, extremely effective. Shooting through windows, or in other words, creating a frame within a frame. And it may seem counterintuitive at first, but in my opinion, it's a great starting point, because I immediately have a composition to work with. I just have to figure out how I want to position myself. Let's try to expand on the idea a bit. Instead of shooting through a window again, you can create your own. I could have backed off, but I like this more, because creating this frame not only gives me a better separation between what's in the foreground and what's in the background, but it also helps to guide the eyes to the point of interest. And this is an important question in cinematography overall. What do I want the audience to focus on in this frame? On the incoming train? Or on the passenger who is waiting for the next one? Let's look at another example. A simple idea would be to shoot through door frames. Now, with this concept in mind, there are still a lot of different ways to approach your composition. A symmetrical approach with two people in each frame, but one closer to the camera and one further away. Or an asymmetrical composition with two people on one side, intentionally leaving negative space on the other, but with this reflection on the glass. So even with a basic idea, there's always room to make the composition a bit more complex. Thank you. What I like so much about this concept is that it's practically everywhere. And with all these people walking into my frame, every second is a new kind of composition. Let's take the shot as our starting point. How can we make this more visually appealing? In my opinion, there are three problems: exposure, depth, and focal length. On a bright sunny day like this, I can't really expose for everything. If I would try to compete with the sun, the shot would be looking like this: a blown out sky and no contrast in the whole image. That's why I expose for the sky and leave the rest in shadows. What about depth? Even with these pillars on the side to somewhat frame the shot and these people walking across, it still looks a bit flat. So let's turn this flat image into something with more layers. That's when I looked around and saw these reflections on the glass panel. I also changed the focal length from 24 to 50. Because generally speaking, with a tighter focal length, it's much easier to control your lighting and what you want to include in your frame. So we went from this starting point to a shot that looks something like this. Framing the shot with the pillars on the side, having this big glass panel between the people who walk into the frame, and exposing for the sky that leaves us with interesting silhouettes. In the end, compositions are only one piece of the puzzle of trying to understand cinematography, but in my opinion, it's a pretty important one. It's good to remind yourself to keep learning, even if you don't have the best equipment or the highest budget, to get out and take advantage of your window of opportunity.